Imagine waking up on a Tuesday morning and realizing that the white picket fence you spent 20 years chasing is actually the cage that's keeping you from living your life. You look at the cracks in the driveway, you think about the property tax bill sitting on the kitchen counter, and you realize that for the first time in American history, the dream of home ownership has started to feel like a 30-year sentence. If you are 40 years old today, in 2026, you are part of a generation that is doing something radical. You are looking at the math, looking at your graying hair in the mirror, and deciding that freedom is worth more than a deed in a safe deposit box. For decades, we were told that renting was throwing money away. Our parents told us that a house was the only real way to build wealth. But the world of 2026 doesn't look like the world of 1986 or even 2006. Today, being 40 means you are at the peak of your career. Your kids might be heading toward independence, and you are finally realizing that you don't want to spend your Saturdays at Home Depot. You want to spend them in Lisbon or Austin, or simply sitting in a high-rise apartment where, if the water heater explodes, it is someone else's problem and someone else's checkbook. This is the great decoupling of the American middle class. We are decoupling our identity from our zip code. We are decoupling our net worth from a pile of bricks and mortar. And honestly, it's about time we talked about why this isn't a failure, but a massive financial and psychological win. When you hit 40, something changes in your brain. You start to value time more than square footage. You start to realize that every dollar tied up in home equity is a dollar that isn't working for you in the market, isn't funding a sabbatical, and isn't available for an emergency. In the current 2026 market, with interest rates having stabilized at a new normal that is much higher than the free money era of the 2010s, the math for buying a home simply doesn't add up for a lot of people who value their mobility. If you buy a house today, you aren't just buying a place to sleep, you are buying an insurance policy, a maintenance contract, and a tax liability all rolled into one. For a 40-year-old who has finally reached a point of professional seniority, the idea of being locked in to a specific neighborhood for the next 10 to 15 years, just to break even on closing costs and commissions, feels like a trap. We've seen the volatility of the last few years. We've seen how quickly neighborhoods can change and how fast property insurance premiums can double or triple because of climate shifts or state-level economic issues. When you rent, you are essentially buying a subscription to a lifestyle. You are paying for the right to leave. And in 2026, the right to leave is the ultimate luxury. Think about the hidden tax of ownership. When you own, you are the CEO, the janitor, and the CFO of your property. Every time a storm rolls through, you aren't just listening to the rain. You're listening for the sound of a roof leak that could cost you $20,000. That's mental bandwidth you could be using to scale your business, spend time with your family, or learn a new skill. The 40-plus crowd is realizing that equity is often just a fancy word for money I can't touch. Unless you take out a HELOC, which involves more debt, that money is dead to you until you sell the house. Meanwhile, the renter who takes that same down payment and puts it into a diversified portfolio of liquid assets in 2026 is seeing their wealth grow in a way they can actually see and use. They are liquid. They are agile. If a better job opportunity opens up in a different state, they give 30 days notice and they move. They don't have to wait for a buyer. They don't have to stage a kitchen. And they don't have to pay a 6% commission to an agent. There is also a massive shift in how we view status. In our parents' generation, the big house in the suburbs was the trophy. It told the world you had made it. But in 2026, the new status symbol is the ability to work from anywhere and own nothing that you can't fit into a high-quality suitcase or a storage unit. We are seeing 40-year-olds who have had the big house experience. They've done the lawn care. They've dealt with the HOA, and they are exhausted. They are choosing luxury rentals in walkable urban centers or managed communities where the amenities are world-class and the responsibilities are zero. They want the gym, the pool, and the co-working space without having to manage the chlorine levels or the Wi-Fi router. This isn't about being unable to buy. It's about being unwilling to be tied down. We are seeing a rental renaissance among high earners. These aren't people who are struggling to make ends meet. These are people with six-figure salaries and healthy investment accounts who are looking at the housing market and saying, "No thanks, I'd rather have the cash." Let's talk about the psychological freedom of the zero-maintenance lifestyle. At 40, you are likely dealing with the sandwich generation stress, caring for aging parents while still guiding your own children. The last thing you need is a basement flood at 2 a.m. When you rent, your liability ends at your front door. There is a profound sense of peace that comes with knowing your housing costs are capped at your monthly rent. There are no surprise expenses. If the HVAC dies, you call the landlord and go back to sleep. For the first time, people are realizing that the peace of mind of owning a home was actually a myth. The real peace of mind comes from knowing that your lifestyle is scalable and adaptable. In 2026, the economy moves fast. Industries are being disrupted by AI and automation at a pace we've never seen. Being tethered to a physical asset that takes 6 months to liquidate is a massive strategic disadvantage. The people who are winning in this economy are the ones who can pivot. Furthermore, we have to address the rent is a ceiling, mortgage is a floor reality. People often say rent keeps going up, which is true. But your rent is the maximum you will pay for housing that month. Your mortgage payment is only the minimum. Once you add in the property taxes, the homeowners association fees, the pest control, the landscaping, the new water heater, the window replacements, and the inevitable "I want to renovate the bathroom" itch, your affordable mortgage starts to look like a black hole for your disposable income. By choosing to rent, 40-year-olds are reclaiming that disposable income and putting it into experiences. They are traveling while they are still young enough to enjoy it. They are investing in their health, their hobbies, and their relationships. They are choosing memories over moldings. There's also the community aspect. The suburbs can be incredibly isolating. You drive into your garage, the door shuts, and you don't see your neighbors for weeks. Modern luxury rentals and built-to-rent communities in 2026 are designed for social interaction. They have communal lounges, organized events, and shared spaces that cater to a more social, connected way of living. For a 40-year-old who might be navigating a divorce, a career change, or just a desire for more human connection, these environments are far more appealing than a quiet cul-de-sac where the only interaction is a wave while taking out the trash. We are seeing a return to a more tribal or communal way of living, but with all the modern comforts of a 5-star hotel. Let's look at the opportunity cost of a down payment. In many parts of the country in 2026, a 20% down payment on a decent family home is upwards of $100,000 or even $200,000. If you lock that money into a house, you are betting that the local real estate market will outperform the broader global economy. That's a huge, undiversified bet. If you instead take that money and invest it in a mix of technology, emerging markets, and high-yield bonds, you have a liquid nest egg that can fund a business venture or a child's education without you having to ask a bank for permission. The rent-over-ownership crowd understands that their greatest asset isn't their home, it's their capital, and their ability to deploy it quickly. We also have to consider the changing nature of family. The nuclear family model that the 1950s suburbs were built for is no longer the only way people live. People are staying single longer, or they are choosing not to have children, or they are living in chosen families with friends. A four-bedroom house in the suburbs makes no sense for a single 40-year-old executive or a child-free couple who spends half the year working remotely from different cities. The housing stock that exists simply hasn't kept up with the way we actually live in 2026. Renting allows you to choose a space that fits your life right now, rather than trying to predict what your life will look like in 30 years. There's also a political and social edge to this. In 2026, we are seeing more YIMBY, yes in my backyard, movements succeeding, but there is still a lot of volatility in how cities are managed. If a city's leadership makes decisions that hurt your quality of life, as a renter, you are a customer who can take your business elsewhere. As a homeowner, you are a hostage who has to stay and fight or sell at a loss. This voting with your feet mentality is becoming a powerful tool for the 40-plus generation. They want to live in places that align with their values and offer the best amenities. If a city starts to decline, they don't wait for the bottom to fall out of the housing market. They just pack up and move to the next city. Is renting perfect? Of course not. You deal with landlords, you deal with potential rent hikes, and you don't get to paint the walls neon green without asking. But for the savvy 40-year-old in 2026, these are minor inconveniences compared to the crushing weight of a 30-year mortgage and the endless treadmill of home maintenance. They are realizing that the American dream was a marketing campaign designed to sell lawnmowers and minivans. The real American dream is freedom. It's the ability to wake up and decide that you want to live by the ocean for 6 months, and then in the mountains for the next 6. It's the ability to lose your job and not lose your shirt, because you aren't over-leveraged on a property you can't afford. It's the ability to invest in yourself instead of investing in a bank's interest margins. As we move further into 2026, the stigma of being a lifetime renter is evaporating. It is being replaced by the flexible professional or the liquid elite. These are people who understand that wealth is not about what you own, but about what you can do. They are prioritizing their health, their mental clarity, and their mobility. They are choosing to spend their 40s exploring the world rather than repairing a fence. They are choosing to be present for their kids' games instead of spending the whole weekend mowing a lawn. They are choosing a life that is light, fast, and free. So, if you're sitting there at 40, wondering if you're behind because you haven't bought a house, or if you're feeling trapped because you have, remember this: the rules have changed. The economy of 2026 rewards the agile. It rewards those who keep their capital liquid and their options open. The most valuable thing you can own isn't a piece of dirt, it's your own time. And if renting is the key that unlocks that time, then it's the best investment you'll ever make. We are seeing a revolution in how we define home. Home isn't where your mortgage is. Home is where your laptop is, where your family is, and where you feel the most alive. In 2026, 40 is the new 30, and renting is the new winning. We have to look at the generational trauma that shaped our view of housing. For those of us in our 40s, we saw the 2008 crash. We saw people lose everything. We saw that safe as houses was a lie. Then we saw the craziness of the 2020s, where prices became detached from reality. We've learned the hard way that a house is just a commodity, and often a very volatile one. By opting out of the traditional ownership model, we are protecting ourselves from the next cycle of madness. We are saying that We refuse to play a game where the deck is stacked against us. We are taking control of our financial destiny by diversifying. We are putting our money into things that actually produce value: businesses, stocks, education, technology, rather than a passive asset that requires constant infusions of cash just to stay standing. The freedom over property movement is about more than just money. It's about a fundamental shift in our values. It's about deciding that we don't want to be landed gentry if it means being landed slaves. We want to be citizens of the world. We want to be able to follow our passions, our careers, and our curiosity wherever they lead. And in 2026, the path to that life is paved with a lease agreement, not a deed. It's about the joy of the reset. When you move to a new rental, you purge the things you don't need. You start fresh. You adapt to a new environment. That keeps you young. It keeps your brain sharp. It prevents the settling that often leads to midlife stagnation. Think about the legacy you want to leave. Do you want to leave your children a house that they'll probably just sell anyway? Or do you want to leave them a legacy of financial literacy, a wealth of experiences, and the memory of a parent who was actually there because they weren't always busy fixing the house? The 40-year-olds of 2026 are choosing the latter. They are building a life based on flow, not friction. They are realizing that in a world that is changing faster than ever, the worst thing you can be is stuck. This shift is also forcing the real estate industry to change. We are seeing developers build high-end rental properties that feel like luxury condos. They are offering long-term leases, stable pricing, and even transferable leases where you can move between their properties in different cities. The market is finally catching up to the fact that 40-year-olds want the condo life without the condo board. They want the house feel without the house headache. This is the future of living. It's housing as a service, HaaS. And just like we don't buy DVDs anymore because we have Netflix, and we don't buy servers because we have the cloud, we are moving away from buying shelter as a permanent asset. We are subscribing to the living experience that fits our current phase of life. If you feel the pressure of society telling you that you should own a home by now, take a deep breath and look at the world around you in 2026. Look at the people who are truly happy, truly mobile, and truly wealthy. More often than not, they are the ones who have lightened their load. They are the ones who have realized that you can't take the house with you, but you can take the skills, the memories, and the liquid wealth you've built by not being a slave to a zip code. This isn't about being priced out of the market. It's about pricing in the value of your own freedom. It's about making a conscious, strategic choice to live a life that is designed for the 21st century, not the 20th. So, as you navigate your 40s in this brave new world, remember that your worth is not measured by the size of your lot or the height of your ceilings. Your worth is measured by the quality of your days. And if you find that your days are better when you aren't worried about property lines and roof repairs, then you have already won. You have found the secret that the ownership class is still trying to figure out, that the greatest property you can ever own is your own life. And that is a property that no bank can ever foreclose on. As we look toward the end of this decade, the trend will only accelerate. Remote work is no longer an experiment. It is the standard for the professional class. The digital nomad isn't just a 20-something with a backpack anymore. It's a 40-something with a family and a high-level consulting gig. The world is opening up, and the people who are best positioned to take advantage of it are the ones who are property light. They are the ones who can spend a year in the south of France because they don't have a mortgage holding them back in the Midwest. They are the ones who can take a risk on a new startup because they have a pile of cash in the bank instead of equity in a kitchen remodel. Ultimately, property versus freedom isn't even a fair fight. Freedom wins every time, because freedom is the ability to change your mind. It's the ability to grow. It's the ability to live a life that is as big and as varied as you want it to be. In 2026, the most successful people are the ones who have realized that they don't need to own the world to enjoy it. They just need the keys to the next great adventure. And those keys are much easier to carry when they aren't attached to a 30-year debt. Welcome to the era of the untethered 40-year-old. It's an era of unprecedented flexibility, financial intelligence, and personal growth. It's an era where we finally stop building walls around our lives and start building bridges to new experiences. It's an era where renting is a badge of honor, a sign that you value your time, your capital, and your future more than a status symbol from a bygone age. So the next time someone asks you why you haven't settled down yet, just smile and tell them that you haven't settled because you're still busy exploring. You haven't bought a house because you're too busy buying your freedom. And in 2026, that is the smartest investment anyone can make. This was Clarence Capital. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our future uploads. See you in the next video, the $150,000 poverty line, why earning six figures in 2026 feels like being broke.